This episode is sponsored in part by StrongDM. Transitioning your team to work from home, like basically everyone on the planet is? Managing gazillions of SSH keys, database passwords, and Kubernetes certificates? Consider StrongDM. Manage and audit access to servers, databases like Route 53, and Kubernetes clusters, no matter where your employees happen to be. You can use StrongDM to extend your identity provider and also Cognito to manage infrastructure access, automate onboarding, offboarding, waterboarding, and moving people within roles. Grant temporary access that automatically expires to whatever team is unlucky enough to be on call this week. Admins get full auditability into whatever anyone does, what they connect to, what queries they run, what commands they type, full visibility into everything. That includes video replays. For databases like Route 53, it's a single unified query log across all of your database management systems. It's used by companies like Hearst, Peloton, Betterment, Greenhouse, and SoFi to manage their access. It's more control and less hassle. StrongDM. Manage and audit remote access to infrastructure. To get a free 14-day trial, visit strongdm.com/SITC. Tell them I sent you, and thank them for tolerating my calling Route 53 a database. This week marks the first of my 8 weeks of parental leave so I can attend to the birth of my second child. Men, and really by extension non-mothers, taking parental leave isn't something that gets a lot of attention, so I wanted to take advantage of my platform to talk about it today. I'm going to start with some uncharacteristic vulnerability and introspection. To be honest, I've been putting off recording this podcast. As I sit here finally getting this done, it's less than 24 hours before my child's scheduled to be born. The last couple of months have been deeply and frenetically stressful, and I've worried and planned and fretted about precisely how to make sure nothing falls apart during my absence. It's safe to say I've probably spent about as much extra time working this summer as I'll be taking off this fall just to make sure that I can take that time off this fall. I know from speaking with other parents, including my spouse, who's been much in the same boat trying to get all of her ducks in a row in preparation for her own leave, that this is incredibly common. Our culture of normative and performative productivity infects all of us, employees and employers alike. It's easy to blame my spouse's employer for making her feel like she has to make sure everything is done before she leaves, but whom do I have to blame for the fact that I, who owns the business, feel the same way? These pressures drive people to take off less time than they need to, and they give employers cover to offer less time than they ought to, particularly in the United States. Sitting here right now, I don't have a solution. I'm frustrated. Hell, I'm resentful. It makes me feel powerless and like I'm part of a problem rather than part of a solution. I feel like I'm letting down my family, my business partner, my employees, and my customers. And I know that these exact feelings, coupled with probably about 1,000 times the unfair external pressure, is what drives so many women to lean out, a problematic term itself, as though the solution to institutionalized sexism were so simple as choosing to ignore it, something few would expect or support a man opting to do. I wish I had a profound segue here, but I don't. All I can say is that I hope by at least talking about this, I can help drive a conversation that maybe will make all of this a little bit better for my kids if and when they become parents themselves. For those who haven't done it, having a kid's a big change in your life, much in the same way that the Pacific Ocean is slightly damp. My daughter Dana is 3 years old and already exhibits the warning signs of having aspects of my personality. I endeavor to stop working at 5:30 most evenings and, along with Bethany, take over watching the dinosaur to ensure she doesn't harm herself for several hours until bedtime. I want to be very clear here. This is parenting. This is a basic responsibility that you sign up for when you make whatever series of choices leads to you bringing a child into the world or into your home and saying, "Yep, I'm a parent now." And I'm guilty of half-assing. I want to be honest. I fall short a lot. I'm not present with my daughter the way I wish I were. I'm on my phone too much. I often feel flustered or annoyed, like she's encroaching on time I could be doing something else. Working, maybe? I feel like I'm doing parenting wrong, and I find it frighteningly tempting to just slip into the cliched absent dad role. I tell myself that Bethany is better at parenting than I am, and I justify to myself that I should focus on what I'm good at. Dana's better off if I just do that and let Bethany take over the role she's clearly superior at. No, this is how harmful patterns replicate themselves. This is how we slow the pace of much-needed change. Dads don't babysit. Tech is, to be direct, a trash fire in so very many ways. It's hard for men to take time off to spend time with a new kid in this culture. It's perceived as vacation instead of adjusting to a pretty dramatic life change. Childcare and parenting are not respected as the actual valuable, critical, like propagation of the species level of important work that they are. Corporate culture and its rush for ever higher profit margins frequently acts in a manner suggesting it considers itself above the mundanities of treating human beings like human beings instead of fungible profit-generating productivity units. Far too often, we buy into the notion that playing along makes us good corporate citizens, as though such a calling is a higher, nobler one than being good parents. In what you might be forgiven for mistaking for a blast from the past, today I want to talk about New Relic. They seem to be a relatively legacy monitoring company, and I would have agreed with that assessment up until relatively recently. But they did something a little out there. They reworked everything. They went open source, they made it so you can monitor your whole stack in one place, and most notably from my perspective, they simplified their pricing into something that is much more affordable for almost everyone. There's even a free tier with 1 user and 100 gigs per month, totally free. Check it out at newrelic.com. Making sure that Dana doesn't kill her new sibling or feel forgotten about is important. So is spending time in solidarity with Bethany at 2 a.m. when Screamy McDiaper Change wants a feeding. Not to mention, getting to know the new little gremlin myself. I can get another job, start another company, mock a different cloud provider, but I won't ever be able to get these days back. We found out that we were going to have a kid all of 2 weeks after I left a giant company and attendant benefits package and set out as an independent consultant. My timing is awesome. I was able, thanks to a giant pile of privilege and a spouse who's a corporate attorney, to make it work. But my revenue that year wasn't anything to write home about. I took the first few weeks hard off and then worked part-time as I eased my way back into running this place. It wasn't ideal, but it spoke directly to my reasons for going independent. To work when I want to work, how I want to work, and not having to bend a knee to ask permission. I can't do that this time. I won't do that this time. We're now 10 people. It's not just me anymore. Whatever I say, what I do has the effect of setting an example for the rest of the staff. If I say I'm going to be working part-time, but I don't expect anyone else to do that, then I've set up a dynamic where doing what I say instead of what I do is the expectation, and that's fraud in its own way. After a lot of deliberation with my business partner, Mike, it became pretty clear that the only way to humanely do this is to take time all the way off. And that's what I'm doing. I've spent the past few months preparing for this. I'll begin by taking 1 solid month away with scheduled content and other tricks that you'll soon see to ensure that whatever happens, I don't have to think about work until at least November. Secondly, I'll likely be staggering my 2 months of parental leave, which every employee gets regardless of gender or familial situation as a standard duckbill group benefit. Taking the second month intermittently over the first half of next year seems like the right move for me, and that's as important as taking it at all. The entire point of leave policies is to serve as a benefit, not a cudgel to wield against people. You're on leave, so we're going to restrict your access to systems, particularly during a pandemic, is a potentially isolating thing. With so much changing, if people want to pop into the social Slack channel or whatnot, why not encourage that? Like it or not, by accepting a managerial position, you become someone who sets an example, whether you want to or not. I'm going to fall short again. I hate that I'm going to fall short again. I'm going to keep trying to do better. I hope talking about this can normalize all of us trying to do better. Thank you for listening.
This has been a Humble Pod production. Stay humble.